Welcome to the Velvet Verdict, honest conversations about how we drift apart and how we find our way back. I'm Velvet. Let's get into it. There is a quiet exhaustion that settles in when you come home, not from the miles driven or the hours worked, but from the feeling that you never really turned off. We are living in an era where the boundary between the office and the living room has dissolved into a blur. The laptop stays open on the kitchen table, the Slack notification pings in the background of a dinner conversation, the mental load of being ready for work begins the moment we walk through the front door. For many men and women, this constant state of on creates a subtle but profound isolation within the home itself. It feels as though the very space meant for reconnection is being colonized by the demands of productivity. We are physically present with our partners, yet mentally tethered to a version of ourselves that is performing, managing, and delivering. The result is a marriage where two people sit together, but neither feels truly seen. This isn't merely a scheduling problem, it is a connection crisis born from the fear that, if we stop, we fail. When the line between work and home vanishes, the work begins to eat the relationship, leaving little room for the messy, unproductive, and essential act of simply being together. The erosion happens in the small moments, the text message sent instead of eye contact, the task checked off instead of a handheld. We are not here to lecture on time management or demand you log off at 5 o'clock. We are here to acknowledge that this friction is real and that it hurts. When we are always working, we stop listening. And when we stop listening, the bridge between us begins to weaken. The goal is not to do more, but to be fully present with what we have. It is about reclaiming the right to be human in the one place where we should feel the safest, home. We are working fewer hours than our parents did, yet we feel more isolated and less satisfied with our marriages than ever before. This paradox suggests the problem isn't the volume of our labor, but where that labor ends. When the boundary between the office and the living room dissolves, the quiet erosion of our relationships begins. We are physically present at home, but mentally checked out, carrying the weight of unfinished tasks into the very space meant to heal us. This constant state of partial availability sends a subtle but powerful message. Your presence is secondary to my productivity. For a wife, it feels like loving a man who is always somewhere else, even when he's sitting right there. For a husband, it feels like being a burden, a distraction from the work that defines his worth. The bridge between us weakens not because of grand conflicts, but because of the 1,000 small moments where we could have looked up, put down the phone, or turned off the laptop and didn't. The goal is not to do more, but to be fully present with what we have. It is about reclaiming the right to be human in the one place where we should feel the safest, home. When we prioritize this sanctuary, we stop the leak of connection that drains us both. We create a space where work is left at the door, and where the only job is to be kind, to listen, and to see the person sitting across from us, not the version of themselves they have to be to survive the day. What the data shows, the blurred boundary. The physical separation between our office and our living room exists, but for many of us, the mental and emotional walls have long since collapsed. The day does not end when the clock strikes 5, it simply shifts into a different room. The numbers paint a stark picture of this reality. According to recent findings, 70% of U.S. working parents admit to handling parenting tasks while they are technically on the clock. Conversely, 59% confess to doing work-related duties while they are with their children. This is not just about checking emails in the car. It is a fundamental blending of identities where the worker and the parent are expected to be fully present in spaces designed for the other role. The situation is even more pronounced for those with the flexibility to work from home. Among parents who work from home all or most of the time, 39% say they manage parenting tasks extremely or very often while working, compared to just 25% of those who rarely or never work from home. For these families, the boundary is not just blurred, it is non-existent. This constant toggling creates a state of perpetual performance. We are never truly off duty, and our children are never truly at the center of our focus. The result is a quiet exhaustion where both partners feel like they are constantly managing a crisis, leaving little room for the simple, unburdened connection that sustains a marriage. When we cannot distinguish between the job and the home, we risk losing the very sanctuary we need to heal. W.H. Ash Shah's The Cost of Rigidity, the absence of control over when we work, is perhaps the most corrosive element of all. It creates a fundamental instability that makes genuine connection nearly impossible. We are told that flexibility is the key to balance, yet for the vast majority of us, it remains out of reach. Only 25% of working parents report having a great deal or fair amount of flexibility to choose when they work, even though 71% of them say that flexibility would be highly helpful. This gap reveals a system designed not for human life, but for the convenience of the employer. When schedules are rigid, The boundaries between work and home simply cannot form. The result is that 41% of U.S. employees have little or no control over their work schedules, and a staggering 62% do not have high-quality work schedules at all. Without the ability to step away or rearrange the day to meet a need, work bleeds into every corner of our lives. It becomes an invisible occupant of our home, present long after the office lights are off. This lack of agency directly fuels the conflict that tears families apart. When we cannot manage our own time, we cannot manage our own stress. 57% of employees with low-quality work schedules say their work often or sometimes conflicts with their personal life, a number that jumps to 39% only among those with high-quality schedules. The difference is clear. Control is the buffer. Without it, the job wins every time, and the relationship pays the price. We are left managing a perpetual state of emergency, unable to simply be present for the person standing right next to us. Flexibility is not a luxury. It is the foundation of a stable home. What the data shows, the emotional toll, the exhaustion that comes from constant context switching is real. It is not just about the hours logged, it is about the mental load of being ready to pivot instantly from a crisis at the office to a crisis at home. When the line dissolves, we are left managing a perpetual state of emergency, unable to simply be present for the person standing right next to us. This is where the quiet erosion happens. The impact is shared, but the feeling of being drained is not distributed equally. The data reveals a distinct gender gap in how this burnout is experienced. 31% of women report feeling very often or always burned out at work, compared to 23% of men. Among parents specifically, the gap widened slightly to 33% of mothers versus 25% of fathers. This suggests that while both sides feel the pressure, the weight of it lands differently on the shoulders of women, who often carry the dual burden of professional performance and the invisible management of domestic life. Yet, this burnout is not exclusive to one side of the room. The most striking finding is that 67% of working mothers and 53% of working fathers agree they simply do not have enough time to relax or do the things they enjoy. More than half of the men in this study feel just as starved for personal time as the mothers do. The feeling of having no time to recharge is a shared human condition in the modern workplace. We are working less in total hours now. The average U.S. employee clocked in at 42.9 hours per week in 2024, down from 44.1 in 2019. But the reduction in hours has not reduced the stress. Because the boundaries are blurred, the work feels heavier, and the recovery time feels non-existent. We are trading our evenings and weekends for a sense of control that ultimately slips through our fingers. The result is a family that is physically together but emotionally exhausted, waiting for a break that never seems to come. The roots. Why this hurts our marriages. That exhaustion doesn't just stay with the individual, it bleeds into the relationship itself. When the boundary between the office and the living room dissolves, the quiet erosion of our marriages accelerates. We are left trying to connect with a partner who is physically present but mentally tethered to an inbox, or a spouse who is waiting for a reprieve from a pressure that never seems to lift. The statistics confirm what many families feel in their bones: the balance is breaking. According to Pew Research, 54% of working parents say it is difficult to juggle work and family responsibilities. The burden falls disproportionately on women. Full-time working mothers are far more likely to report this struggle than full-time fathers. This imbalance creates a specific kind of friction. When a parent misses a child's event because of work, the fallout is profound. Nearly half of all working parents admit their job responsibilities cause them to miss activities their children are involved in, and mothers feel significantly more upset by the guilt of it than fathers do. But this isn't just about children, it is about the couple. The inability to successfully manage this dual load is a primary driver of marital dissatisfaction. Only 44% of married adults say they are very satisfied with how well their spouse balances work and personal life. For the other 56%, the failure to find equilibrium feels like a failure of the partnership itself. It breeds resentment and distance, turning the home into another place of performance rather than a sanctuary for restoration. We are not just tired, we are disconnected, and the work that was supposed to support our lives has become the very thing threatening them. The data reveals a stark reality. Even when marriages are rated as going well, the foundation of connection often feels fragile. Just 43% of married adults say they are very satisfied with how well they and their spouse communicate, despite 58% believing things are going very well overall. This gap suggests that the surface piece of a home can mask a deeper silence where the true exchange of hearts does not happen. For mothers, the pressure is a specific kind of loneliness, the feeling that every moment with a child is a moment of life missed with a partner. When a parent is pulled away to attend to a child's needs, the connection with the other adult can feel severed, replaced by a performance of care that leaves little room for being known. For fathers, the isolation is different but equally profound. They often face the weight of being the sole provider or the silent guardian, with fewer outlets to share their emotional burdens. Men are significantly less likely than women to turn to friends for emotional support. Only 38% would seek a friend out, compared to 54% of women. They are more likely to struggle with the specific loneliness of feeling unheard, even in a room full of family. This isn't about blaming one side, it is about recognizing that the modern family structure has created unique wounds for each gender. The erosion of marriage is not just a failure of time management, but a failure to bridge these distinct experiences of isolation. When we acknowledge the specific pain of the mother missing her partner's presence and the father missing a space to be vulnerable, we begin to heal the distance between them. We stop performing for the home and start connecting with the person beside us, ensuring that neither side feels like a stranger in their own life. What it costs us. Beyond the quiet rooms and the missed moments, there is a broader societal picture of isolation that affects us all. The data reveals a stark reality. 8% of US adults say they have no close friends. This isn't just about being alone in a house, it is about the absence of a community that can catch you when you fall. This isolation has reshaped our living arrangements. In 2024, there were 38.5 million one-person households in the US, making up 29% of all households. The rise of the single-person home is not merely a statistical trend, it is a symptom of a deeper fracture in how we connect. We are building lives that are physically spacious but emotionally narrow. The cost of this disconnection is measured in our collective well-being. Research shows that 61% of married adults were thriving in their well-being, compared with 45% of adults who had never married. Marriage, at its best, offers a buffer against the storms of life, but for many, that connection is missing. Perhaps most alarming is the reach of the loneliness epidemic. 36% of all Americans report serious loneliness, feeling lonely frequently or almost all the time. This pain is not reserved for the elderly or the widowed. It strikes 51% of mothers with young children and 61% of young adults ages 18 to 25. Even those with families, with partners, and with children are not immune to the feeling of being unseen. When we ignore these numbers, we ignore the human cost. The goal is not just to fill a room with furniture, but to fill a life with connection. We must move beyond the statistics and address the feeling behind them. By healing the distance between ourselves and our partners, we begin to heal the distance between ourselves and the world. We stop performing for the home and start connecting with the person beside us, ensuring that neither side feels like a stranger in their own life. So how do we move forward? The path isn't about grand gestures. It's about the small, deliberate choices we make to draw a line in the sand between the worker and the partner. It starts with the off switch. When you walk through the door, or when the workday ends on a screen, there is a ritual required to signal that the job is done. Put the phone face down. Close the laptop. Take 3 deep breaths. This isn't just a habit. It is an act of protection, shielding your relationship from the constant bleed of professional demands. This requires radical flexibility. We cannot expect a rigid schedule in a world that has become fluid. The goal is not to eliminate work, but to ensure that work never consumes the home. When a crisis hits at 8:30 p.m., the solution is not to ignore your spouse, but to communicate it. I am going to handle this, then I am coming back to you. That promise, kept consistently, rebuilds trust faster than any apology. We must also learn to see the person, not the role. The man is not just the provider, the woman is not just the manager of the household. We engage with our partners as individuals, with their own dreams, fears, and unique personalities, the magic returns. We stop trying to fix the problems of the day and start simply being present for each other. By reclaiming these boundaries, we do more than just save our time, we save our marriages. We create a sanctuary where both partners feel truly free, known, and loved, ensuring that the home remains the one place where we can simply be ourselves. That feeling of being truly free, of being known and loved, is the foundation of a lasting marriage. And the good news is that this foundation is stronger than ever. Despite the noise of modern life, the desire for connection remains our most powerful drive. When a crisis hits, or simply a bad day rolls in, 74% of US adults say they would turn to their spouse or partner for emotional support, more than any other source in their lives. This is true for men and women alike. It proves that our instinct is right. The person closest to us is the one most likely to hold us up. This shared reliance is the bridge that crosses the gap between work and home. It reminds us that while we may wear different hats during the day, at the end of it all, We are simply partners in this life together. Rebuilding those boundaries isn't about pushing each other away. It is about making space for the very connection that sustains us both. The path forward is clear. Protect your time, guard your energy, and make your home the place where you can breathe. When we do, we stop the quiet erosion and start building something real. We create a life where both men and women feel seen, supported, and free to be themselves. This episode was written by a human and generated with AI assistance. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and please tell a friend. If you have a positive comment, please post it. We would love to read them and see if we are helping anyone. And if you have positive feedback, we would like to hear that as well. Thank you, everyone. God bless. See you in the next one.